Hello everybody, my name is Lakin. Welcome to the weekly Shonen Review. Now, is the camera good? You already know we got to do the check. Welcome in. Bottoms up. I got a Nuka-Cola Quantum from the store. Kind of a strange find. Apparently it's a collaboration with Jones Soda. Either way, that's not what you're here for. Let's jump straight into it. After a sip. Ooh, that's quite nice. Okay, so we're actually going to start off with Kagurabachi this week. This was an enjoyable chapter. Of course, the one thing you have to note is that it's a side story. You know, it's kind of like the Sojo bathhouse one. This time it's with Hakuri's brother, who has apparently survived the Rakuzaichi, and he's trying to recover his memories. It's a side plot. I enjoyed reading the chapter, but I obviously can't give it like A or S tier because it's just not. You know what I mean? I hope you understand. And now we're going to talk about Modulo, which, oh boy. I've got a lot to say about this one, and a lot of the internet has a lot to say about this one. This is worse than the Kagurabachi chapter. I'll tell you that. Not sponsored, by the way. Jones, if you want to sponsor me, my line's open. Call me up. This Modulo chapter was some buns, and it's once again proving that Gege Akutami has absolutely no idea how to write an ending. Now let me explain why, because I know there's going to be people that agree with me, and there's also going to be lots of contrarians who are going to glaze every single decision here. Well, you're wrong, goddammit, you're wrong. This chapter is absolutely ass. There's just so much that we don't know, and I feel like there's a lot that's not going to be explained. Because, and I don't know if it's the translations, but honestly, I have no fucking idea what's supposed to be going on. We went from the last couple of chapters, Maru is crying over Tsurugi's like dead body, and then suddenly he just appears there with Yuji. We have no idea how this happened. Suddenly they're in the world between. They yap for like 2 chapters. Then suddenly Dabura somehow gets to Africa. He gets the black rope. He breaks the curse and he goes home with his sister, and all that happens in 2 pages. The resolution of Dabura's arc happens in literally 2 pages. We have no idea what Maru's curse technique does. We literally have no idea what it does. And it seems like the answer is that it does literally whatever the plot wants it. And that's not even getting started on the Disney Kaisen ass ending. Like, together, we are Modulo. They're, like, all holding hands, and they, like, start the fucking magical power of friendship ritual. I'm sorry. There's absolutely no defending this. People are saying, oh, what, you want the manga about coexistence to end with them all killing each other? Well, no. We obviously wanted it to end with coexistence. But what the hell is this? This is not good writing. Literally, we've resolved everything with basically it's a Deus Ex Machina. Like, Yuji really has no relevance in the plot. He's probably gone for good now. Maru has used his bullshit curse technique to just like magically fix everything, and none of it makes any sense. I'm sorry, none of it makes any sense. This is like Modulo is going out sad if this is really how it ends. And so I think the only way it could possibly recover from this is if something gets screwed up or another part is set up. And that's the only way this is getting fixed. This was a completely ass chapter, and I've got no defense for it. You shouldn't either. I'm starting to suspect that Gege just can't write endings. Well, whatever. Now, let's go on to Sakamoto Days. This is also C tier. Basically nothing happens in this chapter. It's just a generic fight chapter. And a fight chapter that's detracting away from the main conflict, so I just don't really care. And like I said last week, we already know what's going to happen. You know, Osaragi and Shishiba are not going to die. So, I mean, what is even the point in this? Really, what is the point in this? I've got nothing else to say about Sakamoto Days. Now let's talk about Under Doctor. This is a really shitty chapter this week. This is a really shitty chapter. So we get the whole backstory and kind of set up for this new assassin. He speaks with sign language. He was taught by some like Chinese martial arts master. I've never heard that one before. But he's mute. And for some reason, at the end of the chapter, the main character just like hits him with a strike in the neck and fixes his mutedness. which was literally the main character gimmick. It's the only thing that made him interesting. So, like, literally what the hell is left? Like, this is just, they set up this new interesting character who's got a cool gimmick and then immediately ruin it in one chapter. Now I'm 100% convinced that Underdoctor is getting axed. Sorry, not sorry. Hinato's magic, it was alright, I guess. It was alright. I mean, I don't know. What do I really say about it? Like, there's not much to say about it. They go on this slime extermination mission. There's this new, like, generic badass adventurer girl with, like, a katana. You know, same kind of archetype you've seen in, like, basically everything. And then Kinato ends up helping her kind of free her magic or whatever the hell. And obviously that's going to be what wins her over to his side and, you know, gets him membership in the guild. But all in all, it was just, like, really nothing much happens this chapter. They're just, like, fighting slimes or whatever. Really not that good. I probably enjoyed the Kagurabachi chapter more, especially if it means that Soya is going to come back later and is going to have some sort of influence on the plot. Now, Alien Headbutt is A tier. I wouldn't even go as far as to say that, no, Chainsaw Man's probably B. And Ichi, probably, yeah, okay. And Centuria didn't come out, so it's in D. So this is going to be the final ranking. Now, I'll start by talking about Chainsaw Man. Now, Chainsaw Man got a lot of shit this week, and to you I ask, have you not been reading this manga for the past few years? Like, are you seriously getting rage baited by this again? Denji just being Denji? He obviously has a plan, you guys. He very obviously has a plan. He always has a plan. He always uses the sexual stuff as an excuse for what he actually wants to do, which is usually something virtuous. I mean, you could literally just look at every single time this has happened in the manga. Okay, more importantly, the way this chapter ends has forced people to gloss over all the really, really interesting character building for Yoru, which I swear I've forgotten about it now, but I swear she was saying that, like, guilt makes her more powerful, or, like, if she feels bad for something, which, or sympathizing, right? That is really interesting for the War Devil. Right? That goes without saying. That's a really interesting development for the War Devil. I don't know what to think about that. I think that's really cool, first of all. Really excellent character building in the first half of this chapter, only for Fujimoto to just ensure that everyone, all the normies on the internet, are going to be extremely mad at him, purely because of that final panel. But it was a really good chapter. I thought it's the best chapter in recent memory, just because of what it does for Yoru. B tier, top of B tier, Ichi the Witch. Chrono's dying. He starts saying to the squid dude, don't treat humans with respect, bro. Don't call them hoids, bro. He seems to kind of take his advice, I guess. He's like, sure, bro. And then Chrono's about to die. But, now I actually wasn't expecting this, but his life gets saved by the baby in Minerva's stomach rewinding time and bringing him back to life. We don't know for how long it's going to be, or if this is a permanent operation, or if it's a temporary operation. He seems to be back for now, so I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens next chapter. I was wondering if Chrono would die without somebody acquiring him. It still seems like he's going to die, but maybe he won't, because, you know, it's kind of even more poetic for the baby to save him. But, you know, like I said, only time will tell. Either way, this was a pretty good Ichi chapter. I actually enjoyed reading it. And now let's talk about Alien Headbutt, which in my opinion was the best chapter I read this week. Now, we get a lot of stuff in this chapter. We get a lot of character building for Shiro Kiba. He's lifting up a truck. And we also get potential setup for the power system, which I already clocked last week that this parasite is making him stronger. He says he's going to use it to kick all the aliens' butts and then he'll have it removed, but somehow I doubt that. And then we go to save these people, one of which is the little boy's brother, who seems like he's going to be one of the main supporting characters, seeing as he's a hunter, and he was one of the first people to go and fight back against the aliens. Now, one of the interesting things that gets introduced this chapter is that the aliens are fighting against each other, it seems like. Now, a lot of people were complaining that there is only one type of alien. Well, now you got two, and the fight with it seems to be heating up, and it seems like it's going to get more interesting next week. So, you know, all I got to say is, so far, I definitely think Alien Headbutt is the most interesting of the new batch by far. I like that it hasn't put all of its cards on the table yet, and it seems to get more interesting every week, whereas I feel like Kinato's magic has way overplayed its hand by now, and you can basically guess everything that's going to happen, and I'm going to continue to think that until proven otherwise. Meanwhile, Underdoctor is just completely shit. Now that's the Shonen review for this week. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you next week where we're finally starting One Piece. I'm just about to finish up Egghead, and I will definitely be caught up on Elbaf by next week. Luckily, this week I'm spared because One Piece happens to be on break, so we're not doing it anyway, but we'll be starting with One Piece next week. Okay, I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.